Longplay 4K Review, Gothic. This is how it is in our industry. The most global and long-awaited game projects are often remembered not so much for their scope as for the number of flaws and the degree of fatality of mistakes. The higher the ambitions, the wider the designer's fingers are spread during endless interviews, the less likely it is to get a normal result at the end. Daggerfall, Jagged Alliance 2, Revenant, Ultima Ascension, Anarchy Online. German Gothic was lucky to be in a very warm company of like-minded people. Under the hood. We will deal with the glitches a little later, but now let's take a look at the acquired universe. Its area is small in comparison with Fallout or even Outcast, but it is extremely compact. Forests teeming with wildlife, bubbling waterfalls and temperamental mountain rivers, swamps, sandbanks, 2 mines, 3 settlements and many hidden places easily fit under a huge magical dome. After a while, the world of Gothic begins to evoke a strange feeling of coziness and comfort in your soul. The neighborhoods of the enchanted prison become so close and native. Yes, exactly, the prison. Nobody builds impassable barriers for fun, especially powerful mages. Throw all criminals into the mines and make them work 25 hours a day, ordered the king, concerned about the lack of magic metal in the monarch's forges. And if there is no ore, then there will be no miracle weapon capable of stopping the invasion of the Orc horde. Done. The spell was too strong, and the dome covered not only the mines, but also the mages who created it. The criminals realized the advantages of their new position. The royal guards were killed in the first minutes of the uprising, and the monarch had to make peace with the criminals. Monthly ore deliveries were now made in exchange for food, drink, household goods, women and new labor. Our nameless hero, sentenced to exile beyond the barrier, was a little luckier than the rest. A messenger of the flame mages handed him a letter to be delivered to the imprisoned sorcerers in the dome for a supposedly generous reward. It's not an easy task. During the period of seclusion, the criminal society has safely divided into 3 camps, pursuing purely personal interests. Mafia structures of the old camp are quite satisfied with life, getting rich at the expense of ore miners. The water mages, who founded the new camp with mercenaries and thieves, are determined to undermine the barrier from within. The third, a religiously minded bunch of drug addicts from the swamps, stubbornly believe in the awakening of a mysterious god who will show them the way out. Well, the flame mages are hidden behind the impregnable walls of the old camp courtyard, having found themselves under the protection of the ore baron with the sonorous Hispanic surname Gomez. Gothic is an RPG. At least, that's what its creators claim. Let's put it another way, if Gothic didn't have stunted character statistics and a modest set of quests, it would be considered a fantasy clone of Tomb Raider. Even in Diablo the aspect of pumping up the character was realized much better. Try to guess how many levels of skill development there are here. 50? A dozen? Wrong. 2, trained and master. By the way, there are the same number of basic parameters, strength and dexterity. The first one determines the strength of a blow in close combat, skills one-handed weapons and two-handed weapons. The other one is responsible for accuracy when firing bows, crossbows. There are also pickpocketing, sneaking and lockpicking, which are practically unnecessary for a number of reasons. Rounding off the lumpy parade alley is the acrobatics skill, which, according to the developers, prevents the player from dying while jumping off steep cliffs. Immediately you want to ask, why, has someone already tried it? All statistic parameters, except for hit points, are developed by investing a certain amount of skill points in them. Those, in turn, are given to players when they reach the next level up. Upgrading the character is not done manually, but by communicating with unique NPCs, whimsical hand design are scattered across the 3 settlements. Skills include magic, knowledge of which becomes available as the story develops. It's impossible to avoid using it, especially large game throws off its paws only after 2 or 3 strong firebolts, and they don't care about your over 50 strength. By the way, Gothic, like Arcanum, allows you to increase your mana reserves by spending skill points. At least 20 and a half spells are good, but it's an excessively wasteful pleasure. The quests, the second important component of any successful RPG, are neither numerous nor diverse. At first, when the player is at a crossroads, debating which of the three camps to join, there is an illusory feeling of non-linearity of the plot. In fact, most of the tasks are solved strictly by a single method and, moreover, are triggers for the appearance of new quests in neighboring camps. When the choice of side is made, the bewildered gaze opens a straight bludgeon of the plot trunk, leading to a lonely ending. In the end, it turns out that we chose the camp based solely on color preferences in the matter of design and coloring of armor. Boring. A world of lost opportunities. The presence in the camps of a huge number of useless unique NPCs and disfigured statistics clearly indicate that the project has been repeatedly trimmed with blunt scissors. Why the game does not have, for example, shields, knives, as well as useful parameters luck, intelligence, charisma and the like. Where did such a number of absolutely empty objects appear from the point of view of their use? How come that out of 32 declared types of armor only 16 are available? Who, after all, wrote the script for the second half of the game, secretly playing Tomb Raider? But the potential of Gothic is huge. The last time we were shown a truly alive world was in Outcast. Time in each of the camps goes its own way. NPCs wander around the neighborhood, greet each other, have heartfelt conversations, roast the carcasses of scavengers on an open fire, play the mandolin in the evenings and are always offended when the player without asking climbs into someone's house or starts rattling weapons. The general interactivity of the environment is also pleasantly pleasing. You can buy from the blacksmith half a dozen steel pieces and go into business of making and selling swords. You can sit near a public frying pan and fry pre-prepared raw meat. You can, in the end, just run around the neighborhood and light torches, admiring the change of time of day, the vagaries of the weather and more than 30 types of animals. There's a competently written eye, each monster has its own line of behavior and even its own IQ level. For example, chicken brains of wingless scavenger will be enough only for direct frontal attack, while wolves and snappers prefer to fight in a pack. In general, you can tell stories about the actions of local intelligence. Once your correspondent managed to anger a flock of black goblins to such an extent that the Mapuke armed with clubs went to ford a deep river near a waterfall. The creatures were swept away by the current, they died under the rain of arrows, but at all costs they strove to reach the opposite bank. A fairy tale of inhuman persistence, a magnificent spectacle. The overall impression of the realism of what is happening is supported by the engine's ability to load pieces of the level on the fly. Hateful loading, during which we are shown the canvas a German infers, or life is good, happens only during the transition from the mines to the surface and back. And Gothic looks surprisingly pastoral, except that the foliage of the trees is a bit bad. But otherwise it's a paradise. Assembled from heterogeneous boards bridges over reedy rivulets, amazingly beautiful rain, juicy special effects of spells and cute monster models, not to mention the architecture of all three camps, deserve enthusiastic approval. Add polygonal meat on the models of people, especially the main character, teach them the wisdom of motion capture, and then it would have been a complete piece of cake. Blown away by the integrity of the picture of the world, the player relaxes, gets used to the uncomfortable control and begins to enjoy, as come glitches. The EX setup alone is worth it. Three-dimensional sound, above all praise, crystal clear samples, excellent positioning, a great idea with ambient dialogues. Alas, it is the inclusion of EX support that intentionally kills the game while walking through the mines. Creative's hardware users are raving, Piranha Bytes is silent as a fish. However, the game can crash in Windows sometimes just like that. Annoying is a completely stupid flaw in the damage calculation algorithm during melee combat. You've been beating Swamp Shark with a big sword for a whole minute, but your mighty blows only throw her back without causing any damage? You can't kill a lazy fat lizard? The trick is that you should hit not in any point of the monster's body, but strictly at the center of its gravity. That's why it's better to go for big game with a good bow or spells, at least they have auto-targeting. Other nasties include disappearing NPCs, the fundamental impossibility to finish a number of quests, and the disgusting pathfinding of the hero's companions. Monsters sometimes manage not only to bite the player, being 3 meters away from his body, but also to organize a clearly cheater super attack, always leading to a fatal outcome. Some expensive objects are remarkably duplicable. An attempt to dive into the water with a weapon in your hands ends with you hitting your head on the bottom and dying from lack of oxygen. Some doors important to the plot development are intentionally jammed when you try to open them. The obnoxious trading interface forces the player to jump through all the categories of their own pocket before they are allowed to poke around in vendor boxes. Quick save and quick load are absent, even though most quests from later chapters of the game are clearly overpowered. But the most unpleasant thing is not in glitches at all, we have seen worse. Another thing is a shame: the German sample, released 8 months ago, suffered from all of the above. It's strange that the developers did not take measures to improve their long-suffering brainchild and instead announced Gothic 2. What will happen to the Russian version? Your will to make a clear verdict on Gothic is insanely difficult. On the one hand, it's beautiful, at times wildly interesting and almost outcast. On the other hand, the statistics nibbled in all places, unassuming plot, lack of normal human animation, imbalance of weapons and a horde of annoying glitchmoshka. Zen Buddhists and just stalwart people enjoy it, the rest of us write angry letters to Piranha Bytes.